The sudden wrath of heaven descended upon the earth, and humanity, like ants, struggled to survive in the face of natural disasters. Can you live well with money and power? Do the lower class have to die? No, I want to live, I just want to live. Chapter 1. Polar Day. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alas, I don't want to do anything good anymore, Shenling sighed as she touched her almost bald head on the hospital corridor bench. Originally walking well on the road, I saw an old man lying on the roadside groaning. Out of kindness, I took him to the hospital, but as soon as the old man's son arrived, he accused him of hitting him. Hey, hurry up and pay me the hospitalization fee, and compensate me another 20,000 yuan, otherwise I'll tell you this is not over. Shenling looked up and saw the old man's son standing in front of her, pointing at her nose and scolding. I've already said it's not me. Did Timo do something good and make a mistake? Shenlinghua said, it's hard to repay good people these days, isn't it? As a 25-year-old young man, working a part-time job costs 5,000 to 6,000 yuan per month. Apart from eating, drinking, smoking, and occasionally going to the West, how can I save money? Not to mention 20,000 yuan, I can't even get out of 200 yuan at the end of the month. I don't care, if you don't give me money, you don't want to leave, just waste it. After speaking, he chuckled as if it wasn't his father sleeping on the hospital bed, but his money tree. Zhua, it's really unlucky, Shenling rubbed her face in agony, thinking that she still had to go to work tomorrow. If it kept going like this, she might lose her job. Moreover, once she reports to the police, even if she makes sense, her reputation will not be good. Hey, mother, what do you want? I have some trouble here, can you transfer some money to me? What's up, son? Are you okay? On the other end of the phone, Shenling's mother spoke anxiously. She was the only son and was most afraid of what might happen to her. I'm fine, I've been falsely accused of not doing good things. I really have no other choice, Shenling clearly felt that she lacked confidence. She has been out of society for 3 or 4 years since graduation, with no coins left on her body every day and has to rely on family support. Hey! It's already past 7 p.m. this afternoon, and the sky is still so bright. Suddenly looking up, Shenling saw the bright afternoon light outside the window. She felt like her brain had gone down. Okay, I'll transfer it to you. Don't do such a thing next time. As ordinary people, not doing bad things is considered accumulating virtue, you know. On the other end of the phone, Shenling's mother heard that she was fine and breathed a sigh of relief. She then instructed her to hang up the phone and open the mobile banking app. Zhua, if a person is unlucky, even farting will hit their heels. On the way back to the dormitory, Shenling was blinded by the sun and pointed a cigarette into his nostrils. He cursed and went upstairs, opened his computer, and prepared to masturbate. Recently, in the new season, he didn't even understand the map. Citizens don't have to worry, Polar Day is just an uncommon weather factor. Everyone can live as usual without panic. On the phone, a certain expert is chatting confidently, while the comments below are all praying for their family. What the hell is that? It's not like the end of the world is coming, is it? That's what novels say. Shenling looked at the sky outside the window and touched her chin, muttering to herself. As a migrant worker who works out of town, I don't have many friends on a regular basis. After work, I stay in the dormitory and enjoy having some food and drinks. Mom, did it get dark that day? After thinking for a while, Shenling sent a WeChat message to her mother. I was just about to ask you, it's already daylight at home, like noon. Mom replied in a voice message, looking quite excited. She had never encountered such a thing before, and it was a bit strange. It's okay, Mom. The Brick family has already said that it's normal to eat and drink. Putting down her phone, Shenling pondered that it's not far from home, and the weather is almost normal. Sister, did it get dark that day? I haven't gotten dark yet, thieves are rare. After thinking for a moment, Shenling sent a message to Su Mengyue, who is far away in the northeast. The two of them have no blood relationship, and since we met, their personalities have been similar, so they are called siblings. I don't have it either. The news says it's a rare celestial phenomenon, and I'm taking photos as a souvenir. So are you. Doesn't that feel right? Shenling put down her phone and lit a cigarette. Have you never heard of a time when celestial phenomena are visible nationwide? What about this Timo moments? It's publicly visible. Shenling remained silent for a moment. As a seasoned fan of apocalyptic novels, she always felt the need to do something to show respect for the strange celestial phenomena. This instant noodle is really delicious. It's a box of 20.4 bags, 2 boxes in total, and this oatmeal. Anyway, I have to lose weight after the Chinese New Year. It's a bit late. Opening the online shopping app, Shenling Bang bought hundreds of food and looked at the few remaining flowers. She decided to stop there. Even if it's really the end of the day. Brother, this material can still survive for a few more days, right? Shenling lit a cigarette, didn't take it seriously, closed the curtains, and fell asleep soundly until a week later. It's been a week now, and the weather is still like this. It feels like something's really wrong. After the night shift, Shenling felt a bit dazed, with 24 hours a day during the day, which was really difficult to handle. Can't you stay home for 2 days? It seems like the Chinese New Year is coming soon. Shenling had a quick and easy attitude and immediately found her supervisor. Boss, it's almost Chinese New Year now. Can't I go back 2 days early? I'm far from home and it's taking up time on the way. Step by step, how many days do you plan to take off? The leader's tone was somewhat hesitant, but still allowed Shenling's leave. Okay, I'll take 5 classes and finally go home for a few more days. I miss my parents too much, Shenling gritted his teeth. His job nature is different, and he has 11 days off for all 5 classes, which makes him feel a bit overwhelmed. Step forward, then you can write a note. The leader looked at the young man and it was not easy, so let's criticize him. Shenling, who was on vacation, immediately said to her boss, Brother Wipe, let me have a drink together when I come back, and then called for a car. After 8 painful hours, Shenling ran over with a big and small bag, looking at the mother waiting at the station and happily running over. My dear mother. To be honest, at the age of 25, Shenling still had nothing to do. She really felt like she was useless, but although she had a decent brain, she couldn't make any money. Go ahead and smash, go home, Mom will make you delicious food. Upon returning home, Shenling clearly felt much more relaxed, but the glaring sunlight outside the window made him feel uncomfortable. Brother, hurry up and get some food and drink. This celestial event isn't that easy. Shenling, who is doing push-ups, received a WeChat message from Fa Xiao, calling to remind her to shut down. Fa Xiaoli Carrot has been in the military for 8 years, and the two of them can see each other once a year, but their relationship has not diminished but increased. Does this kid have any insider information? He has never teased me about anything serious. Shenling remained silent for a while and decided to take Li Luobu's words to heart. He lives in an elderly family courtyard, with narrow roads. Usually, a car has to be pulled back to the courtyard to pass by. The cars on the road are all dripping, which makes Shenling very annoyed. Let's buy something and take a look at Li Luobu's house to celebrate the new year for our buddies, Shenling said as she went. She picked up her phone, put on her clothes, and walked towards Li Luobu's house, carrying 2 bottles of wine. Chapter 2. Polar Nightfall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey uncle and auntie, let's pay respects to you early years. Upon arriving at Li Luobu's house, Shenling politely put down the gift and kowtowed on behalf of her good friend. Li Luobu's parents also politely stuffed a red envelope. My child has a good Chinese New Year. I feel like the weather is abnormal this year. Please pay attention to your health. Liluab's mother smiled and said. His family runs a smoking hotel and also handles some grain and oil. In Shenling's opinion, those who have lived here for a year and a half will never die of hunger. Auntie, look at this day, it's almost 10 days since it's been dark, right? I always feel like this is not right, and the carrot has also sent me a message to pay attention, so I came to your house to see the second elder and also want to take stock of the grain to go back and store it. Shenling stretched her head to look at the piles of food in the room, feeling a little pleased in her heart. He also told me, his tone was quite serious, but it seems he has some confidential tasks and can't be reached now. Radish's father lit a cigarette and took a worried sip, saying. Shenling's eyes rolled and she immediately said, Uncle, do you think I can sell more grain in the store? I think he has already reminded me so. I have to bring some grain back home even if I drop it. What if something really happens? Don't worry, child. Your uncle just brought in 10,000 kilograms of rice and some food. Just tell him what you want and we'll take him home. Carrot's mother said with a smile. Shenling and Radish have known each other for 17 years, and have seen their parents many times, so they are not polite. They said confidently, Uncle, Aunt, we don't know what happened. Let's do it this way. Get me 2,000 kilograms of rice and 2,000 kilograms of flour. It's best if there's nothing wrong. If there's any sudden situation, we can at least hold on for a while. Radish's father nodded with a smile and immediately instructed the staff in the store to help Shenling move the goods, while Shenling was chatting with Radish's mother about family matters. After an hour and a half, the sky outside suddenly darkened without any signs, as if the lights had been turned off and the whole world was pitch black. Vehicles on the road crashed into each other with a clatter. Wutsao, what's going on? Why did it suddenly get dark? Shenling was startled and quickly opened her phone, taking advantage of the bright light to observe the situation outside. Oh my, who will save me? Help my wife, she seems to be under pressure. Woo woo woo, for a moment, there were various cries and screams on the street, and the screams echoed through the air, making those who listened tremble with fear. Child, take a flashlight and hurry home. It's really unsafe outside. Radish's father walked out of the warehouse and patted Shenling's shoulder, saying. Okay uncle, you also need to be careful, but the weather is normal now. There shouldn't be anything wrong with waking up tomorrow morning. I'll bring you the grain when it's daylight tomorrow. Shenling wiped the sweat off her forehead and hurriedly took the flashlight, but the ominous feeling in her heart grew stronger. Leaving Li Luobu's house, Shenling walked towards the house with a flashlight on. Along the way, he casually bought a few cigarettes and bottles of wine because he always felt that it was so sudden that there was a premonition that it would never light up again. Pop 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 pop, Mom, open the door, I'm back. Entering the house and looking at the small mountains of food piled up in her room, Shenling felt very at ease in her heart. SMA, why are you buying so much food? Is there a famine? Shenling's mother looked at her reproachfully, while Shenling looked at her father and mother in Anyang, feeling relieved. When it suddenly gets dark, I always feel like something bad is happening, so I'll stock up on some food and be prepared. If it gets bright tomorrow, it won't be a loss to send it back. Shenling didn't express his premonition to his parents, so he could only vague. After speaking, he returned to his room and took out his phone to start memorizing necessary daily necessities. After all, he was well prepared. The next day, the alarm on her phone rang, and Shenling sat up abruptly. She glanced out the window and her heart sank. It's broken, it's not dawn, it's already past 9 in the morning. Shenling quickly got up and saw that her parents were not awake yet. She tiptoed out of the house and found a 24-hour convenience store, where she purchased goods according to the records on her phone. MD, extreme day and night have arrived. Will extreme cold and heat be far away? It's hard to say, maybe there will be an end to the world. Shenling's big cake face turned to her phone, slapped a certain group loan, and then purchased a series of hibernation supplies: cotton clothes, cotton pants, cotton shoes, mineral water, soaked noodles, smoked meat, and sausages. Later, when I found it troublesome, I opened the novel and bought them all according to the materials written in the novel. Could you please help me deliver it to the family courtyard of number 1 middle school? Thank you. After settling the bill, Shenling hurriedly returned home and found her parents sitting on the sofa with furrowed brows. What's wrong, Dad? Shenling spoke up and asked. My old comrade called and said that the weather has been abnormal recently, and there may be a severe drop in temperature in a few days. He asked me to hurry up and grab some shopping resources. Shenling's father took a puff of smoke and hesitated to speak. It's okay, Dad. I bought a lot of things, which should be enough for us to survive for a year and a half. Shenling saw that her father's face was not right, so she pretended to be relaxed and said. Recently, no one is allowed to go out without me speaking, just stay inside. Shenling's father spoke seriously. Since Shenling began to remember, he had never seen his father so serious. Even if he stole 1,000 yuan from his family when he was a child, his father smiled and gave him a big sinus, even if it knocked out his teeth. Dad, let's tidy up the storage room and put everything inside. Shenling couldn't bear this atmosphere and quickly instructed her father to do things. After a busy time, Shenling took out her phone and sent a WeChat message to Su Mengyue, saying, Sister, buy something and put it inside the house. My brother and father are both very serious about the weather this time, so be careful. Seeing Su Mengyue return to okay, Shenling lay in bed with peace of mind, pondering. Can it really be the end of the world? In the novels I read, before the end of the world, the protagonist would awaken their abilities. Why don't I? Am I overthinking it or am I not the protagonist? After fantasizing wildly, Shenling shook her head and decided to observe for a few more days. Who in the serious world is looking forward to the end? Isn't he fragrant on a serious day? Ding-ling-ling, the fixed-line phone at home rang, mainly for broadband delivery, and I have never called before. Hello, who is that? Shenling answered the phone, and a dull male voice at the end of the line said, Is Shenbin here? Looking for my dad. You wait a moment. Shenling put down the phone and shouted, Dad, someone is looking for you. Shenbin answered the phone, said a few words, and then suddenly stood up in a military posture with a loud bang, saying, Yes. Chief, and then hung up the phone. Dad, what's wrong? Shenling was confused. She knew that her father had worked as a special agent in the army before, but she had never seen him like this before. You two stay inside the house well. I won't come back, no one is allowed to go out, no one is allowed to open the door. Did you hear me? Shenbin looked at Shenling's mother and son with a gloomy expression, opened a box under the bed, and then picked up a strange-looking phone and walked out. Wife, son, pay attention to safety, I will definitely come back. Chapter 3. Doomsday Comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since Shenbin received an inexplicable phone call and left, Shenling has been pondering his father's identity. Hi, I always think about the darkness during the day, but it's always dark all day and I think about the sun again. It's really outrageous. Shenling was lying in bed. A few days ago, the sky was still bright and sunny, but now it is pitch black. Although there are no clouds, even the stars cannot be seen. It's not like lying down all the time. Going out for a stroll. Shenling felt that the brain melon seeds were about to show off and bored, but was sternly rejected by her mother. When your dad left, he said he won't go out unless he sends a message. Ah. Robbery. Shenling was about to refute when suddenly screams and the sound of smashing objects and vehicle alarms came from outside. It's broken, people are starting to panic. Shenling sighed and let go of the thought of going out for a walk, but it was also human nature. Dark night can give people courage, let alone 24-hour darkness. Coupled with abnormal weather, it is normal for people to lose control of their emotions. I don't know to what extent it will develop. No one can be certain of what will happen in the future, the only premonition is that this event is by no means simple. People, please do not panic. Although the environment is abnormal, scientists are currently studying and have not found any disasters. Please rest assured that the country will not abandon any of its people. In the news, the host's passionate speech does indeed make people feel relaxed, but the pitch-black sky is like a demon with a big mouth open, trying to devour this space. 99.100, who, after finishing her daily exercise, Shenling touched her head and surprisingly didn't sweat. When she did 100 push-ups in one breath, her forehead was covered in sweat. Shoo, it's so cool. Hurry up and wash yourself to sleep. Shenling used to be a chubby person, with a height of 173 reaching 98 kilograms at one point. Since starting to lose weight 2 years ago, her exercise has never been neglected. Oh my, the bedding is too warm. After lighting a cigarette, Shenling pondered that according to the plot of the novel, when people start to scramble for supplies, it means either there is a push from behind, or wealthy and powerful people have received some news. I'm Joie, why is it so cold? Taking out her phone and glancing at it, it was only 2 o'clock in the morning. Shenling expressed her confusion as she was covered in a quilt. How could she be awakened by the cold? Ah! It's minus 18 degrees. Sweat burst out from Shenling's forehead. In the territory of Henan, not to mention minus 18 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Celsius is not common. It's broken, isn't it extreme cold? That's what novels say. Putting on her clothes, Shenling leaned over the window and lit a cigarette. Outside the window, it started to snow sporadically. Although it wasn't big, it was very stable and I don't know when it started. The ground had already been covered with a layer of snowflakes. No, that's not right. I need to find a way to fix the door. Do whatever you say. Shenling took out her phone and found a friend who was working on decoration. She was originally thinking about sending a message now, but it would be great if she could reply tomorrow. However, the other person replied instantly. Hey buddy, what about the decoration? Wutsao, why don't you sleep on the night shift and do the market? The vibration of the phone startled Shenling, and he started cursing. It's so cold on this day, the temperature drops so suddenly. Thanks to my intelligence, I covered the quilt that I used to marry my wife back with 280,000 yuan. The other party smiled and sent a voice message, but when it came to this topic, he was clearly not as happy as before. Brother, can you reinforce the door? My door is a bit old, I'm thinking of asking you to reinforce it. Shenling thought about his wife, who was like a tiger tank, and shivered. She quickly got to the point. Hi, I'm afraid I'm not saying it. It's been dark lately and I can't even see my bullshit. I've been resting. But if you're in a hurry, I'll come to your house tomorrow and measure the dimensions to install the steel door in my warehouse for you. The sound coming from the phone was full of hesitation, but still gave a definite message. You are my biological father. Could you please come tomorrow? It's quite urgent. I'm waiting for you online. Shenling was overjoyed and quickly dismissed the tiger tank. After a series of tugs and tugs, she took her brother's steel door for a price of 8,000 yuan. Think about what else, what if there really is an end to the world? People can't help but be wary. Shenling pondered for a while, but unconsciously fell asleep. It wasn't until 9 o'clock the next morning that the sound of his phone woke him up. If you don't answer the phone again, I thought you were frozen to death. On the other end of the phone, the renovation guy angrily cursed, standing at the entrance of the community for half an hour in minus 10 degrees Celsius weather, unable to find the door or make a phone call. I'm Joie, do you feel colder than last night? Shenling wiped her nose as if it had frozen. She gently removed the icicles from under her nostrils, put on a thick cotton jacket, and went downstairs to pick someone up. "All right, I'll come and pack it for you tomorrow. I worked hard today and cut everything for you." The renovation guy took a puff of smoke. He seemed to have caught a cold, with only one nostril emitting smoke. Pushi, Shenling couldn't help but laugh out loud, and the other party glared at him before starting the car. "Hurry up and transfer the money to me. I'm planning to make some cat winter food." Shenling waved her hand, thinking whether the express delivery would still work in such a day. "We need to build a heater, right? What if we still need to cool down?" At 8 p.m., Shenling looked at her mother cooking in the kitchen and felt like she had forgotten something. "Chua, it's minus 25 degrees. Shenling looked at her phone with an incredulous expression on her face. The snow outside was getting bigger and bigger, which could be called goose feather snow. Residents of the community, please try not to go out if you have nothing to do. The street will deliver necessary supplies from door to door. Please be calm and not impatient." On the road, the people from the street office were walking with their horns in their hands, 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. The snow had already buried on the knee of this little doubting. "It's really cold. I don't know how northerners spend winter." Shenling took off the icicle under her nostrils and felt like she had a slight fever. Fortunately, her mother had a habit of putting medicine at home. Otherwise, if she went out on such a day, even a healthy person would have caught a cold. Hoo 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 hoo. The wind outside the window even made a sound like a baby crying, making the listener shudder. Cough, minus 32 degrees Celsius. At this moment, Shenling was finally extremely certain that this weather change would be a disaster. "Sister, have you eaten in ton yet? I'm already minus 32, how are you doing? I'm already minus 40 degrees, and now it's snowing so deep in my chest. Fortunately, I listened to you and bought a lot of food." The news of Su Mengyue came back, and Shenling calmed down a bit. She took the food sent by the street and listened quietly to the neighbors' discussions. "What should I do now? I can only rely on the food on the street to make a living. The water pipes have frozen and the street only provides 3 bottles of mineral water every day, which is not enough to drink. My son has a fever of 39 degrees. Yeah, my dad also has a fever. He has never encountered this kind of weather before. He can't even walk on the road outside. That's it." Chapter 4. Community Riots. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a day, the renovation buddies came to offer his steel door, and Shenling looked at the 7.8 centimeters thick steel door, feeling very secure in her heart. "Hey buddy, how did you come here? The snow outside is so thick." Shenling stretched her head and looked out the window. The snow was still falling and the car roof was almost covered. "Chua, it's not just for the sake of serving you. I rented a large car to deliver goods to you. Otherwise, my broken single row will have to turn off the engine before it arrives at your house. The decoration guy has a particularly hot temper today, and I don't know if he was bullied by the tank wife. Alright, slow down on the road, I won't deliver it." "I'm still burning now." Shenling habitually touched her nostrils, not feeling the presence of the icicles, and breathed a sigh of relief. Nothing happened for a day until evening, when the people delivering supplies on the street had not yet arrived. The neighbors began to feel anxious. "How come the food delivery hasn't arrived yet? My son hasn't eaten anything all day." "That's right, we didn't have to go out as agreed." Shenling was startled in her heart. Yes, according to reason, the delivery person from the street should have arrived long ago. It's been a whole day now, and there hasn't been a single letter. Who has food and mineral water at home? I'll pay to buy it. In the community group, some people have already started to seek supplies. Who in modern society can withstand this kind of hunger? I'm the same, I'll pay 50 yuan, a bag of instant noodles and a bottle of mineral water. I have it, I'll sell you. Shenling looked at the news in the group and sighed. I don't know if there will be supplies delivered in the future, but exchanging life-saving items for money now is not the right choice. In the blink of an eye, 5 days have passed, and the delivery person still hasn't arrived. The snow is still falling, and the temperature is still dropping. Only the group selling goods at high prices stops talking. Does anyone sell food? As long as it's food, I'll exchange it with a gold ring. What's a gold ring? I'll exchange it for a gold brick. After 5 days of hunger struggle, the neighbors in the community seem to be a bit anxious, resorting to all means for some food, and even fighting fiercely for a pack of crispy noodles. Chua, I am still clever enough to prepare so much food and drink in advance. Shenling finished push-ups and lay on the sofa, looking at her phone. Thanks to the dedicated work of the phone company, she still maintained the internet in such a day. Otherwise, she would really be ignorant. -52 degrees, Shenling glanced at the thermometer and felt as if it had also caught a cold, which was not working properly. Xiao Shen, the weather has been abnormal lately, so don't come to work for now. Let's all work from home. Shenling was still pondering, feeling like she had forgotten something. It turned out she had forgotten her identity as a worker. Alright, boss. I'm in the winter and it's too cold. You also need to pay attention to your health and don't catch a cold. After practicing a series of workplace language skills, Shenling spat on her phone and was about to call her mother to have 2 warm drinks. Fortunately, there was a stove and smokeless charcoal in the room, otherwise she might not have been able to get out of bed. Dong! 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 Suddenly, a sound came from upstairs, as if someone was holding a hammer or something. Get out of here. I've already said that in this extreme weather, everyone should unite. You just care about yourself. You really deserve to be beaten. A burst of screams and screams came into Shenling's ears, which boosted her spirits. In the novel, the building bullies who were looting supplies appeared. Shenling shrank her head and listened to the decreasing moans. In such weather, even a small wound could potentially kill a person. Son, we have eaten a lot, can't we help our neighbors? Mom heard the sound and whispered to Shenling. No way, Mom. You helped them today, but if you don't help them tomorrow, they will become enemies. Moreover, our food cannot be known by others. What if someone comes to rob us? Shenling quickly interrupted her mother's words and also gave her a lesson. Mom is good everywhere, but her heart is too soft. Ah, okay, what are you eating? Mom will make it for you. Mom shook her head, as if she was grieving for her neighbor upstairs. Dong dong dong, open the door. Before Shenling could speak again, her door suddenly knocked on, and the voice of the person who had just cursed upstairs came through. What are you doing? Shenling didn't open the door, jokingly. Didn't he get his buddy's steel door just to prevent today's arrival? Take out all the food and drinks and give them to me, I will distribute them uniformly, so that all the neighbors can survive. The voice of the bully came, but the fierce voice was unconvincing no matter how hard it was heard. I don't. Shenling sneered and politely greeted the bully's mother. The bully's obvious voice began to be irritable. Sleeping trough. Little brat, don't let me catch you, otherwise you will suffer from old troubles. I'll tell you. The bully smashed something at the door, as if his hand had been shaken back. After a painful cry, he cursed fiercely. Alas, indeed, under the apocalypse, people's hearts are the most terrifying. Shenling lit a cigarette, clearly regretting and hoping for the end of the day. Isn't it good for him on a serious day? In the future, we still have to fight for survival. We don't want anything else, we want to live. Shenling's eyes stiffened, as if she was cheering for herself and also focusing on the lives of those she cared about. In the next few days, this scene kept happening in the building. They not only snatched food, but also cotton quilts, cotton clothes, and cotton shoes, all of which were taken away. The people on the street had never seen it again, and even the radio never rang again. After 10 days of extreme cold, the community suffered a complete power outage, and the building returned to quietness. Even the entire community was unprecedentedly quiet, as if in an instant, the people in the community had disappeared. No, I have to go out and take a look. Shenling tightened her clothes. After the temperature dropped to -52 degrees Celsius, it never dropped again, except for snow that continued to fall. Now, it has even submerged the second floor. Lying over the cat's eye and looking around, Shenling didn't see anyone. She tiptoed out, wearing thick gloves and holding a swing stick. Chua, scare me. Passing by the neighbor's doorstep downstairs, the front door was open, and the neighbor had already turned into an ice sculpture lying at the door, with a patch of frozen blood under his feet. Dish, do these 13 kids really dare to kill? On such a cold day, the sweat from Shenling's forehead froze as soon as it came out, causing him to grin in pain. The same scene appeared on different floors, with different neighbors in different homes. The difference was that each neighbor died in a different posture, and all the household supplies were looted. It's too scary, I have to go home. Shenling felt like she was on the verge of collapse. Seeing GA people in TV dramas was not as terrifying, and after witnessing it firsthand, the visual impact was no less than that of 3D movies like World War. When Shenling turned her head to prepare to go back, she suddenly heard a murmur downstairs. MD, there's nothing to eat again, and only the one on the 8th floor hasn't been robbed yet. What should we do, boss? Do you want to do something with him? What the hell are you doing? He never opens the door. It seems like his door has also been modified. The thief is so hard that a hammer can't even open it. It was the voice of the bully. I didn't expect that after so long, he was still alive, and it seems that he even managed to win over a group of younger brothers. Boss, I have an idea. Good kid, I'll listen to you. I'll make the decision. You'll divide his family's food into 30%. Chapter 5. The storage room was stolen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dong dong dong, a knocking sound came from the door, very gentle, as if it was not the style of a bully. Don't knock on me, I won't give it. Shenling cursed and then ignored the knocking at the door. She focused on reading the novel, trying to gather some practical experience from the apocalyptic novel. Brother, I don't have any food or cotton jackets at home. Can you give me some? A pleasant voice came in, gentle and gentle, with a hint of weakness, like a cute girl. Yoha, listen to this sound, like a girl, suck it up. Shenling took a sip of saliva and looked into the cat's eye, only to see an object fully armed and dressed like a ball standing at the door, and the sound was made by this object. Hee, I can't be the protagonist, can I? The girl came knocking on my door. Shenling's mother and fetus have been alone for 25 years. Although she cannot see her appearance clearly, she still captures his soul. Chua, isn't that right? Just went downstairs and took a stroll. Apart from those bullies, it seems like you didn't look at anyone else. Aren't you playing the beauty trick with me? Shenling scratched her head, noticeably losing a few more strands of hair, adding insult to injury to her already sparse head. Can you pull me down quickly? Are you trying to deceive me? I'm as clever as a monkey, Shenling chuckled. I remember the novel said, in the end of the world, no one can believe it. In this situation, it's not good enough to eat, drink, or freeze. What else do you need a bicycle? The girl outside the door clearly didn't expect it, but quickly adjusted her state and tried to continue acting coquettishly, while Shenling was already immersed in the novels of the Doomsday Guide. It's always right to learn more students and save skills. After less than 5 minutes, the girl outside the door was afraid she couldn't bear the cold and lost her voice. She must have gone back to report. Waste, you can't even seduce a waste otaku. What's the use of you besides venting our anger? Boss, why don't you eat her? There's still some meat left now, and in a while, there might be bones left. Yes, yes, I think it's possible. Looking at the group of men in the room, they looked at each other with a seductive expression. The girl who had just tried to seduce Shenling had already lost her face. This gaze was not sexual aggression, but a desire for food. Son, there isn't much food in the house anymore. Can you go to the storage room and bring some back? In the kitchen, Mom's voice came out, causing Shenling to panic. She had forgotten that the vast majority of the supplies were stored in the storage room downstairs. Now it was broken, and to go to the storage room, she had to pass through the territory of those bullies. Being beaten was not a big deal, and if something was stolen, it would be ruined. Moreover, the snow was so deep that moving things would take a lot of effort. Shenling habitually wanted to scratch her head, but suddenly remembered her sparse head and put down her hand. As a last resort, I have to go early or late, as there is no difference between day and night. I might as well take advantage of the gap. They have just taken action against me to take a chance. Having made up her mind, Shenling put on layer after layer of clothes, which not only resisted freezing but also beating. After casually carrying a watermelon knife and imitating Huaqiang style, he swung it in the void a few times before telling his mother and leaving. It was safe all the way, except for not being able to see the road. My whole body was buried in the snow, and it was extremely cold. I used to take a fork in the road, but everything else went smoothly. MD, this is not my storage room either. After a full hour of searching, Shenling successfully found her own storage room, struggled to open the door, selected some high-calorie food and smokeless charcoal, and then gently closed the door, preparing to return home. Little rabbit, did I catch you? Suddenly, a loud shout came from behind, and Shenling instinctively kicked her over. Little brat, dare you take action first? Hit him for me. Upon hearing this, Shenling immediately panicked and pulled out her watermelon knife, shouting loudly, "Are you deliberately picking trouble?" After speaking, taking a glance, there were at least a dozen people on the other side, each holding a piece of food, and some even had dried up blood on them. Shua! Shenling panicked and ran away, regardless of whether the storage room door was tightly closed or not. She ran home without looking back until the sound of shouting and beating disappeared behind her. Your grandfather's, he scared me to death. Taking a long sigh of relief, Shenling took out her pocket and only brought a dozen or so chocolates and 2 handfuls of dry noodles. The big thing didn't have time to carry it, and when the small thing couldn't run easily, she also lost it all the way. It's over, these kids won't give up until we move our storage room empty. At this moment, Shenling's heart was filled with despair. She had been gambling since the end of the day, not losing to the heavens, but losing to a group of bullies. Forget it, just make do with it. Being able to live for a day is like a day. Upon returning home, my mother was greatly surprised to see Shenling's disheveled appearance. Son, what's wrong with this? Don't mention it, it's not just those bastards downstairs. After briefly recounting the process, Shenling leaned back on the sofa dejected, pondering how to live in the future. Mom opened her mouth as if hesitating, but in the end she spoke up. Son, before your father left, he told me that if there's no food left at home, he'll let you open this box. I don't know what's here either. Upon hearing this, Shenling's spirit was boosted. Her father's identity had not yet been fully understood. Could he have left behind any secret weapons? Or information about air raid shelters and shelters? Opening the box, there was a pistol, 5 magazines filled with bullets, and a letter inside. Son, when you see this letter, it means your family has run out of ammunition and food. Dad has gone out on a special mission. As the only man in the family, you must shoulder the responsibility of protecting your mother. Don't be curious about what Dad did. Do what you want to do. In the end of the day, everything you do is right to survive. Go, son, for your mother, for yourself, let go and fight. Seeing these simple words, Shenling was greatly shocked. What exactly is the identity of the father? You can easily get a handgun and leave it at home, and if you remember correctly, this handgun is still the latest weapon currently equipped in the active military. Forget it, if you can't figure it out, then forget about it. Let's go grab the food first. After tidying up her shocking emotions, Shenling put on her thick clothes again and put on a watermelon knife. Unlike last time, this time she had an extra gun. Mom, I'll go out and get my things back. After speaking, Shenling walked out with a very graceful figure, giving his mother a confident appearance. Chua, I'm pretending too much. I don't know how to shoot, do I? After leaving the door, Shenling grabbed her pistol and recalled various videos she had watched, trying to find a way to shoot. Load magazine, load, close safety, pull trigger, bang. The loud gunfire echoed through the hallway, causing pain in Shenling's eardrums. It's done. Lao Deng, let's see how I take you. Chapter 6. Dad only picked up Mom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Unexpectedly, when Shenling arrogantly found the bully's territory, she didn't even see a person's hair. A question mark appeared on Shenling's brain melon seeds, clearly not understanding what was going on. Chua, take a look at the storage room and think positively. What if they freeze to death at the door? After struggling to follow the previous traces, I walked to the storage room and saw the door open, with no hair left inside. Animal, TMD animal. Shenling wept bitterly. Although she had been mentally prepared, seeing the empty storage room was still difficult to accept. No, I have to go find them. It won't take more than half an hour from me going upstairs to coming out. These people shouldn't be able to walk far. How did they take it? How did they bring it back to me? Looking down from the rooftop, there are scattered footprints and dug snow holes in all directions, which seem to have been dug up by the neighbors in the community before. Many have already been buried again, except for one, which should have been dug out recently. I'll make it spicy. Shenling followed the traces left behind and didn't know how long she had been walking. The flashlight in her hand gradually lost its shine. What's in front? The faint light makes the terrain, which is usually familiar with light vehicles, particularly difficult to navigate. Dish. At first glance, there were many people lying horizontally and vertically in front, resembling human figures anyway. Either it's an inflatable person, or... On a day of minus tens of degrees Celsius, even a living person would freeze to death lying here. Under the dim light of a flashlight, it looks particularly penetrating. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a group of bullies who had just snatched their own floor. Shenling was trembling all over, unable to hold the flashlight steadily. Then, her legs softened and she sat down on the frozen ice. I didn't have time to wait for fear to spread all over my body, but I heard a rumbling sound coming from far to near above my head, followed by a strong light shining from far to near at a fast speed. Chua, what about a helicopter? Shenling suddenly fell into shock. Ordinary people, how could they ever see a helicopter in their lifetime? No, to be precise, it should be an armed helicopter, because Shenling clearly saw the gun hanging under the helicopter. Who's the young master and young lady from Experience Life? They live in our rundown community. Shenling gave an unbalanced spat, but it also dispelled the fearful chill on her body. It's over, there's nothing left to eat. Shenling fell into great despair. It was obvious that her belongings were not seen in the entire body, and even her clothes were stripped off. Heaven is going to kill me. Shenling felt a sense of sadness in her heart. Her father entrusted her to him, but as the only man in the family, he didn't even have the ability to guarantee that her mother stuttered. Stumbling home, he opened the door, but the house was quiet, as if his mother was not at home. Mom, Mom. Shenling called twice, but didn't hear any response. He suddenly panicked and quickly searched for his mother's whereabouts room by room. Woo. About 5 minutes later, Shenling sat on the floor of the living room feeling disheartened, covering her face and crying bitterly. Although I don't know where my mother went, this extreme weather, even a young man in his 20s who went out for more than 10 minutes, was completely frozen, let alone his nearly 50-year-old mother. Wow! Shenling tilted her body and lay down, but unexpectedly hit something. What is this? The flashlight has completely declared its demise, groping for what was pressed in the darkness, feeling confused. It seems like a piece of clothing. Shenling was still feeling an elephant in the blind, but she also touched a stick-like object next to it, which looked like clothes. She was very familiar with it and felt the same as the flashlight that had just passed away. Pada, Shenling turned on the flashlight and a dazzling light appeared, illuminating the world before her. It's indeed a piece of clothing. Shenling seemed to realize something. This kind of clothing had never been seen in her own family before. The material felt extremely light and thin to the touch, but it felt very warm. I reached out and touched it, and sure enough, I found a letter under my clothes. When I opened it, it was in my mother's handwriting. Son, keep going. Comrades have other urgent tasks and can't wait for you here. Follow the map and come find us. Your father's training for you from childhood to adulthood is time for practice. The handwriting was very sloppy, and it seemed that the person who wrote it was very anxious. She spoke only briefly, but at least Shenling knew that her mother was still safe, and if she guessed correctly, her father had sent someone to pick her up. Chua, I knew I wouldn't go out. Shenling patted her head in frustration. With her mother's personality, she would never leave her alone unless she had to. This time, she really played herself to pieces. Inside the clothes, besides a letter, there is also a map, as well as many high-calorie foods such as energy bars and chocolates, filling all the pockets. Hiding under the covers, Shenling put on this clothes and couldn't help but sigh, hey, don't even say it, it's so warm. He also didn't expect that wearing such thin and lightweight clothes would have such a good insulation effect, like the military-grade cold jacket he saw in a novel. After a series of full armaments, Shenling opened the map and prepared to hug her father's thigh. At least she could survive the end of the world, right? Isn't it? The refuge base is in Harbin. Shenling's chin dropped in shock. You should know that his region is in Hunan Province, which belongs to the Central Plains region, while Harbin City is in Heilongjiang Province, which belongs to the North China region, separated by at least several thousand kilometers. I don't know if I can see my parents alive. Shenling gave a bitter smile, and her mother trusted her quite a bit. After thousands of kilometers of driving, she left her alone. Well, at least we still have weapons and food. Let's make do with it, we'll have to die on the road. Shenling sorted out her confused mood and remembered her father's teachings from a young age. Son, before doing something, consider whether it's worth it or not. As long as it's worth it, don't think about whether it's worth it or not. Let it go, even if it's a failure, it's also experience. Looking ahead and looking back is not something a man should do. As a man, you must die on the road to charge. Not on the starting point. After packing all the leftover food in her backpack, carrying a watermelon knife and pistol on her body, and confirming that there were no essential items left behind, Shenling looked at her home with nostalgia. No, this is just a house. The place where my parents are is home. Let's go, brothers. We're done. Chapter 7. Don't good things bring friends? You are listening at novelfull.audio. When she walked out of the house, she didn't feel particularly cold, only a slight coolness, which strengthened Shenling's confidence once again. MD, let's go to my buddy's house first, grab him and find a place to get some shovels. After walking to the entrance of the community, there were no more holes dug in the snow outside. Every step was squeezed by a large amount of snow, causing pain all over the body. Moreover, every section of the road was filled with corpses with different expressions and bodies. After about 5 hours, Shenling finally saw the artificially dug hole, which should be close to her brother's house. Dong dong dong, half an hour later, Shenling finally found her friend's house and slammed the door hard. It was obvious that there was a sound inside, but the door did not open. Zhao Jian. Open the door, it's me Shenling. Shenling shouted loudly. Soon, the door quickly opened, pulled him in, and quickly closed again. How did you come, TM? The sound of Zhao Jian came from the ear, very close, and hot air sprayed on his face. You stay away from me, you're disgusting to death. Shenling wiped her face, and the hot air she had just sprayed had already condensed into ice on her face. Brother, how did you come to this thick snow outside? Zhao Jian refused to let go and still leaned against Shenling's face to speak. Shenling stepped back and shone a flashlight on his brother's face, describing him as very restrained. Of course it came over. Let's see if you're dead or not. Shenling said something in a bad mood, but she felt very sorry for Zhao Jian. Although he wasn't fat in the past, he was at least a slim and fleshy man when he was dressed, but now he has become skinny and skinny. Zhao Jian's face was filled with fear, and he was moved by his brother who came to find him. He didn't know what he had experienced, but he ended up falling to this point. Stop talking, you eat something first, and after finishing, tell me what happened during this period. Shenling took out a pack of compressed biscuits and opened the door to scoop out a large handful of snow. Zhao Jian looked at the compressed biscuits in his hand, his eyes visibly glowing, like wolves seeing prey in the wild. Squeezing and chattering, Zhao Jian frantically stuffed it into his mouth, making a deathly sound like feeding a pig. After finishing a pack, he was clearly unsatisfied and extended his dirty paws. Alright, you don't have a lot of stock in the landlord's house either. Just don't starve to death. Shenling slapped his hand open and handed him a cigarette. His who, what has happened recently? Shenling asked as she took a beautiful sip. Zhao Jian's hand gave a fierce thud, and a frightened expression appeared on his face. Brother, let me tell you, it was okay at first. The people in our community also helped each other, until one day the official personnel in the community stopped delivering supplies. On the fourth day when the extreme cold came, the official staff of Zhao Jian community suddenly disappeared. At first, the people in the community didn't take it seriously. They thought that something had not come. Until 3 days later, some people in the community could not stand it, and formed a gang called the Blood Wolf Sect. At first, the people in the Blood Wolf Sect were polite, unified food and then distributed from house to house. Although the distribution was less, at least they could not die of hunger. Later, before the official personnel arrived, the members of the Blood Wolf gang showed a fierce face and began to rob the property owners of the community on a large scale. Those who opened the door would forcibly rob, while those who did not open the door would smash the door and hit people. You should know that in this weather, a small injury could potentially kill a person, let alone they were all shot dead while grabbing things. During that time, the community was flooded with blood. And then? How did you survive? Upon hearing this, Shenling sweated for Zhao Jian and began to inquire. I'm not afraid they'll come and snatch me, after all, I've trained before. It wasn't until I ran out of supplies that I saw them. They actually ate people. The water couldn't boil, so they ate raw. Zhao Jian took a deep breath and said these words with a tone full of fear, as if he couldn't forget the scene. Shenling took a deep breath. Although such incidents had also occurred in his community, he had not seen them with his own eyes, so he did not personally experience them. I have been staying at home all the time, and there are only 7 or 8 bags of instant noodles. I have been relying on these instant noodles from the very cold the 4th day to now. If you don't come in these 2 days, I am afraid I have already frozen hard. Zhao Jianchang breathed a sigh of relief, as if he was fortunate enough to survive in order to find his good brother. You've suffered, brother. You have to follow me now. Shenling explained what had happened to her, and Zhao Jian's face clearly showed a strong hope. Yes, who doesn't crave to live, especially in a situation that can be said to be doomed? I'll come with you. We need to go to Li Luobua's house first to bring his parents, and also Wang Feng's house to bring him. Zhao Jian excitedly said that he, who was full of loyalty, did not forget his brothers because he had gained hope. That's not a lighter burning the crotch is burning. Shenling has a companion and her mood has improved significantly. Not to mention, at least she has a good brother to accompany her and strive for hope of survival. As soon as he said goodbye, Zhao Jian simply packed up the supplies, but in reality, there was nothing to pack, mainly clothes. Isn't it cold for you to just wear this little? Zhao Jian touched Shenling's clothes with a puzzled expression on his face. Cut, this is the military-grade winter uniform left for me by my father. I'm not afraid to lower it by 10 degrees. Chua, it's great to have a good father. After leaving the door, Shenling pulled Zhao Jian into the door of a hardware store. She bought several weapons, shovels, flashlights, hammers, and other items for 0 yuan, then tightened her backpack and walked towards Li Luobu's house, digging and walking all the way, which was quite a struggle. Bang bang bang. After going through countless hardships, I arrived at Li Luobu's house and knocked on his big iron door, but there was no movement inside. Uncle, Aunt, open the door, I'm Shenling. After shouting several times in a row, there was still no sound in the room. Shua. Shenling felt a bad premonition in her heart. After exchanging a glance with Zhao Jian, she smashed the glass with a hammer and climbed inside. The room was neat and tidy, with no signs of robbery, except for food and some essential items. There shouldn't have been an accident, most likely it was packing up and running away. Shenling Chang breathed a sigh of relief. If something happened to Li Luobu's parents, he didn't know how to explain it to her. After all, he could be said to be Li Luobu's most trusted and best brother. It should be okay, it should be okay. You see, everything is neatly arranged, and I think there are traces of snow pressing over the door. Zhao Jian patted Shenling's shoulder and breathed a sigh of relief. The three of them had known each other since the 3rd grade of elementary school and have been in a relationship for nearly 20 years now. That's right. This kid is a special agent in the army. Maybe he took his parents away. Shenling's eyes lit up and she carefully examined the traces in front of the door, completely letting go of her worries. Let's go to Wang Feng's house, let's go fight together. Even if we die, we'll all die together. Chapter 8. Hiking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The journey was very arduous, with a normal 20-minute walk lasting 3 to 4 hours. By the time they arrived at Wang Feng's house, they were already panting and their foreheads were covered in large chunks of ice. It's really tiring. Zhao Jian sighed and casually took out a cigarette from Shenling's pocket. Although it was very appetizing, the cold air accompanied by the fragrance of tobacco still burned and hurt when it entered his throat. The only good thing was that on the way, they happened to stumble upon a convenience store that nobody visited. The two of them frantically swept around, carrying several backpacks of food and choosing high-sugar, high-fat, and high-calorie foods. Although it was tiring, it was still hope for survival. Hello, hello. Knocking on the door and shouting a few times, the door quickly opened and patted the snow on his body as he walked in. Looking at Wang Feng, who was chubby in front of him, Zhao Jian showed an expression of envy. Are you doing well, stinky kid? I'm almost starving, but your kid has actually gained weight. Wang Feng chuckled. He had met Shenling and Zhao Jian through Li Luobu's introduction, and they had similar personalities. They had played together for 7 or 8 years, and he didn't expect them to come to him again on such days. I'm fine here. There aren't many people living nearby, so I opened a small shop and it's been thriving until now. What's going on outside now? Don't mention it, the order has collapsed, morality has declined, and now people are resorting to all means to survive, and the official personnel are also nowhere to be seen. I don't know if there is any unexpected event. Shenling shook her head. It seemed that this kid had never gone out since the end of the world, and the situation outside was completely dark. Do you have a power bank at home? Your phone has run out of battery and I don't know if there is still a signal left. There's a joke. If there were, wouldn't I have contacted you earlier? Wang Feng took out his own phone, which was obviously only used as a brick. Without the internet and signal, the phone was not as useful as a brick. Come on, pack up your things and come with us. As usual, Shenling wasted a lot of saliva to explain what had happened to Wang Feng. Wang Feng's face was full of disbelief, but seeing the resolute expressions of Shenling and Zhao Jian, he decided to give it a try. I have a few sets of ski suits here, which are quite warm. It's hard to hold them, just put them on. There's nothing else to pack, I put my food in the urea bag long ago, so I'll just carry it on my back and leave. Wang Feng looked a bit excited, like the mood of a boy before his adventure, reflecting the saying that a man is a teenager until he dies. After some sorting, the group of 2 became 3 people, each carrying a heavy backpack on their back and a slightly faded urea bag. It's really embarrassing. I didn't even memorize this before when I went to school. What a shame. Shenling pursed her lips, clearly not liking the yellow urea bag. Oh, can't you tell that you're also a shameless person? Zhao Jian couldn't help but tease. That's not a big deal, I'm even backing away from Stanley. That's a big brand. Looking at the map, it shows all the way north. Fortunately, my phone was charged a bit, and although it was a bit frozen, looking at the compass was not a big problem. Driving day and night, of course, there is no distinction between day and night. When you get tired, dig a snow hole and go to sleep. Not to mention, the snow hole is quite warm, but every time you wake up, your pants get wet, soaked in snow warmed by body temperature. I'm so tired. Wang Feng has the worst physical condition, which is only relative. After all, he has been playing basketball for so many years and is not very tall, but his body is still decent. Wait, there seems to be light ahead. Shenling pulled up Wang Feng sitting on the ground, and in this environment where he couldn't see his fingers, a glimmer of light appeared so dazzling. Go take a look, I don't know if it's a living person. Wang Feng was a bit excited. Along the way, he had not seen any living people, but had seen many human-shaped ice sculptures. At first, his limbs were trembling, but later he gradually got used to it. Forget it. The only ones who can survive the end of the world are ruthless people. Just the 3 of us, don't throw away our food. Shenling was clearly unwilling in her heart. Although her father said that everything she did to survive in the end of the world was right, so far Shenling has not broken through her moral bottom line. No robbery or murder. Although it is related to not seeing a living person, others may not be the same. The current situation is that even if there is an empty house, they dare not enter. Who knows what things or people will be inside, so the snow cave has always been their home. Pull it down, if you're tired, go to sleep for a while. Shenling also felt a bit overwhelmed. After walking for a long time and still carrying something on her back, her sweat quickly turned into ice, making her body uncomfortable. As usual, a hole was dug, and the 3 of them spread umbrella cloth from the convenience store under their bodies. After a while, they snored like thunder. Boss, they seem to have carried a lot of things. While they're asleep, take them down and take your backpack. In a daze, Shenling seemed to have heard whispers. Her half-turned brain did not process the received information in a timely manner, but the word backpack triggered Shenling's keyword. What person? Get lost. Shenling let out a loud shout, waking up Zhao Jian and Wang Feng as well. She picked up a flashlight and saw a dozen or so people scattered around her, each with a yellow and thin face, but unfortunately, they looked like fat because of their bulky clothes. Wake up. Hand over your things, I'll spare your dog's life. The leading man saw that the surprise attack was unsuccessful and spoke harshly. What are you saying? Say it again so I can hear it. Shenling was a bit nervous and pulled out the gun with her back hand to load it, pretending to be arrogant. What about bragging? Use a toy gun to scare Grandpa. The man was overjoyed, his big yellow teeth hadn't been brushed for a long time, and the stench could be smelled several meters apart. Bang! Shenling fired a shot upwards, causing the man's mocking expression to condense on his face. Do you have any common sense? Are you shooting indiscriminately in such thick snow? The man shouted angrily and ran away with the people behind him, leaving only 3 people who had not fully turned on their phones. Ask your master, run quickly. Run towards a higher place. Shenling suddenly woke up and dragged the 2 of them to follow the man's footsteps into the building. It wasn't until they reached the 5th floor that they gasped for breath. Before the 3 of them could take out their cigarettes and light them, a loud rumbling sound came to their ears downstairs. The thick snow layer below began to collapse like an earthquake building, and in the blink of an eye, the snow hole where they had just slept was buried. After a series of praises, Zhao Jian reached out and pulled off the ice on his forehead, causing him another painful output. Can the 3 of us who have no survival experience really walk from Henan to Harbin alive? The 2 remained silent because they didn't know the answer to the question either. Chapter 9. Inexplicable Creatures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After experiencing an avalanche, the 3 of them squatted on the ground with fear, looking like ostriches. Brother, can we live to Harbin? Wang Feng hesitated a bit but still asked. Is there any other way now? Staying in place can only lead to death, and there may not be any disasters in the future. Going to an official shelter is the most correct choice. Shenling took a long breath, his tone not lacking firmness, but also carrying a hint of melancholy. Don't we have a shelter for Nanyang? Zhao Jian took a puff of smoke and asked anxiously. I don't know, it's highly likely there is, but are you sure we can get an ordinary life if we go there? Or maybe. Shenling did not continue, but the meaning behind it was self-evident. Alright, we went to Harbin with your father's protection. Waiting here would be a dead end, but now that the road is buried, we have to work hard to dig it again. Wang Feng threw away his cigarette butt and stepped on it, saying sorrowfully. There's nothing we can do, let's go. Take advantage of them not discovering us, otherwise we'll have to fight again. I really don't want to kill innocent survivors. Shenling sighed and said helplessly. It is already very difficult for people to survive in this environment, no matter what means are used. Isn't it unjust to die in the hands of the same kind without dying in a natural disaster? MD, this snow is so salty. Zhao Jian grabbed a mouthful of snow and stuffed it into his mouth, then said disdainfully. Stop talking, save some effort. Walk more than 80 kilometers and you'll be at Sanmenxia. Shenling didn't take it seriously. Who might have peed in Xue Xian's urine? It can be imagined that walking over 80 kilometers in such extreme environments is such a difficult task. Along the way, it was snowy and salty, and I could only drink bottled water from my backpack. Oh no, it should be called mineral ice now. It's really exhausting. Around 20 o'clock, Zhao Jian and Wang Feng were both lying on the ground, panting heavily, as if breaking through a bellows. Let's take a nap, but starting from today, someone must be on duty. Don't be like this morning, you don't even know if someone is coming. Shenling sat down to catch her breath and said weakly, in the apocalypse, one should not only be careful of the disasters brought by heaven, but also be careful of the same kind who are poisoned by disasters, as they are indeed physically and mentally exhausted. You come first, call me at 2 o'clock. Zhao Jian took a deep breath and then fell asleep. Wang Feng also died one by one, as if this was just a notice, not a discussion. Your grandfathers. Shenling cursed and then sat on the umbrella cloth, lighting a cigarette. She had never felt that snow was so despicable, disrupting her peaceful life. Ahem! Suddenly, a sound like a wolf or a dog echoed into Shenling's ears, making her drowsy and energetic. What kind of thing? Shenling pulled out his watermelon knife and slowly walked towards the source of the sound. He didn't dare to turn on the flashlight, afraid of exposing his position. Sleeping slot! Shenling exclaimed in surprise, and saw a dozen or so green eyes scattered ahead. The height of the eyes was at least 1.6 meters above Shenling's shoulders. Wake up! Shenling slowly retreated to the two companions, pushed them, and shouted lightly. Why commit suicide? Because he is afraid of disturbing the creatures in front of him. Zhao Jian spat out lotus flowers at his mouth, and when he saw the lush greenery, he promptly turned off the wheat. What the hell is this? Zhao Jian asked in a low, frightened voice. How do I know? It sounds like a wolf. Shenling felt as if her heartbeat had slowed down by half a beat, as she had only seen this kind of creature in the zoo. Ah, I miss the dragon zoo so much. Ahem, ahem, accompanied by a howl, the green eyes slowly approached the direction of the three, causing them to tremble all over. Where's your gun? Take it out. Wang Feng became anxious and shouted loudly at Shenling. MD, what should we do if we trigger another avalanche? Shenling said angrily, he also wanted to, but today's avalanche scene gave Shenling a reason not to pull out her gun. Dogs' lives matter, don't care. Biting her teeth, Shenling pulled out her gun and fired a few shots at the green light ahead, accompanied by a scream of wow 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 as the other green lights gradually dissipated. What is this? Wang Feng shone a flashlight and saw a creature lying in the pool of blood, with a body resembling a wolf but an elephant trunk and antlers. His grandfather's. I've never seen anything like this before. Shenling took a deep breath. In apocalyptic novels, mutated creatures are usually accompanied by abilities, biological genes, and bloodline mutations. He couldn't figure out which kind of creature they belonged to. Brother, can there really be supernatural powers in this world? Zhao Jian asked cautiously. It is highly unlikely that supernatural abilities belong to the ability generated by the void, and there is no scientific basis at all. Do you believe in the existence of immortals? Shenling countered by saying that as an atheist, Zhao Jian still vehemently denied it. Fortunately, the gunfire did not cause an avalanche this time. After experiencing high-intensity mental concentration, the three of them clearly experienced physical detachment. I'll take a nap, you're so on duty. Shenling calmed down for a moment, handed the pistol to Zhao Jian, and lay down on the spot. He no longer has the strength to turn over. In my dream, I became the supreme spiritual cultivator, ending the apocalypse and becoming a hero admired by all. Where's Sayajimio? Get up and hurry. Wang Feng's voice interrupted Shenling's beautiful dream. Shenling grumbled twice in displeasure, picked up her backpack, but her heart was still immersed in the dream just now. Boom boom. Accompanied by the shaking of a battlefield, the three of them chatting and farting to relieve boredom suddenly felt dizzy. They were buried in thick snow, and in the last second of their consciousness, they realized the arrival of an earthquake. The next second, the three of them became unconscious. Shwa. I don't know if the final roar came out, but Shenling felt like her thin body was being suppressed by a thick object, yet she was still happy that she could continue her dream of becoming a god. Chapter 10. Nuclear Power Plant Leakage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't know how long it took, but Shenling gradually woke up. Her body was completely immobile, and a huge gap appeared on the ground beside her, even swallowing the snow that had originally been on it. Zhao Jian, Wang Feng. Shenling struggled and stretched her neck, shouting loudly. He dared not move, nor could he, because the crack was too close to her. No one answered, and Shenling fell into a brief moment of despair. She struggled to reach into her backpack, chewed on a dirt rack, and then fainted again due to exhaustion. Another wave of earth and mountain shaking woke up Shenling from her coma. Her brain, which had just turned on, had not yet realized anything, but her body had already begun to tremble. Shua. Are you still here? Shenling concentrated her strength, lifted the stone on the snow that was pressing on her body, and stumbled up, walking deep and shallow, shouting the names of the other two people loudly in her mouth. Cough cough. I'm here, I'm here. A faint sound came into Shenling's ear, and she was overjoyed. She picked up the snow with a shovel and started digging under the sound, thinking to herself, don't die, hold on. After more than 10 minutes of excavation, he finally saw the figure of Wang Feng. To his delight, Zhao Jian was right next to him, but it seemed like he was still in a coma, or maybe he was lost. So, do you feel any discomfort? Shenling anxiously asked. The sound he had just made was too subtle, making people think that the master of the sound was approaching. You have 2 arms, buddy. How loud can the sound be in such thick snow? Wang Feng angrily scolded him, and then the two of them worked together to drag Zhao Jian out. He's fine too. He was talking just now, so it's probably because his ear stones have fallen off again. Zhao Jian has otolith syndrome, and he dares not play roller coasters or bungee jumping. When his otolith falls off, it feels like a spinning wheel. No wonder there are so many strange creatures running out. It turns out they have a premonition. Shenling understood that no matter what kind of creature, it is more agile than humans before disasters strike. We can't stay here anymore, we need to move forward. Find a spacious place. We're lucky this time that we weren't crushed by the collapsed house. We might not have such good luck next time. Shenling remembered the feeling from earlier, her legs and stomach still twisted slightly. Then the two of them stood with Zhao Jian, watching the nearby environment as they walked. The only convenient point is that after 2 aftershocks, they can walk on the snow and at least see the outside environment. What kind of factory is this? I don't know how long it took, but Zhao Jian also woke up groggily, but it was obvious that he couldn't walk on his own, just like drinking too much. Is it a power plant? It looks a bit like a nuclear power plant on the red alert. Shenling replied with uncertainty, instinctively wanting to walk in and temporarily dodge. Shua. No way. Suddenly, Shenling seemed to think of a foreign movie where an earthquake caused a nuclear power plant to leak and there was nuclear radiation for several kilometers around. Don't fail to evolve, give me a mutation. Upon hearing this, the other two were also shocked. Zhao Jian ignored his still dizzy mind and ran in the opposite direction. Although he stumbled, his speed was not slow. Compared to before, the road is very easy to walk. Although there is always a foot that can be inserted into the snow, at least it can run without digging or walking step by step. How uncomfortable. After running 5.6 kilometers in one breath, the three of them stopped. Zhao Jian moaned and panted heavily, accompanied by dry nausea. TMD, I feel like the universe is flipping over now, I can't feel the existence of my head anymore. Before he could finish speaking, Zhao Jian fell to the ground and fainted again. It's broken, this time we'll have to rotate between the two of us. The two of them didn't take it seriously, and they had seen this kind of thing with Zhao Jian before. It's understandable. This time it was quite quiet, until 7 or 8 hours later when the three of them woke up. Zhao Jian's face was a bit pale, but he didn't look so uncomfortable anymore. I don't know where I went, but this meeting. In a panic, no matter what, Shenling also looked bewildered. Modern humans have lost navigation and are indeed blind when they open their eyes. It should be here. We only ran 5 or 6 kilometers from there. We were supposed to be heading northeast all the way, but it will shift to the west. After conducting a series of studies, the three of them have come to the conclusion that, if they are not mistaken, they have now entered the territory of the Three Gates box, with only a slight deviation in the trimming. Eat something and keep walking. Taking out the food and distributing it to the two of them, Shenling sighed as she felt the backpack getting lighter and lighter. It wasn't long before she had to find a way to collect food again. Along the way, there were 9 empty rooms and nothing was found. Zhi, in the deep snow beneath their feet, the faint and chaotic cries of mice reached the ears of the 3, getting closer and closer. Are there any mice left on this day? I'm puzzled, but it doesn't seem to matter, but they don't want to hunt these mice for food, after all, they haven't run out of ammunition and food yet. Click click click, a sound of gnawing on something came out again, and then a huge hole appeared in the nearby snow layer. Slowly, mice as big as rabbits and with fangs as long as dogs crawled out of the hole. I'm Joie. The 3 of them spoke in surprise and fear, and at the same time, they saw the red eyes of the mice, which made them numb. TMD heard from the old man that only animals that have eaten humans have red eyes. These mice must have survived by eating humans. Shenling started running and spoke in fear, her voice trembling as she ran, mainly because I don't know why these mice look so strange, just like the wolf pack I encountered before. A thunderous sound came from behind, and when I turned my head, I saw a large group of huge mice following me closely. The scene was as terrifying as it was. Quick, fast, jump over that crack. My eyes lit up because there was a 3.4-meter wide crack ahead, which should have been left by the previous earthquake. If I ran like this, I would eventually be caught up with. With so many mice, I had to eat and wipe the 3 of them clean in one bite. Spell it. Accelerated, leaped with all his might, and with a panic, jumped to the other side, while the mice behind him fell one after another into the cracks, their squeaking and moaning sounds incredibly penetrating. Who survived? Survived. Zhao Jian and Wang Feng were fortunate to have saved their dog's life, but Shenling thought to herself whether these strange mice might have mutated due to a nuclear power plant leak. Oh my goodness, spare my dog's life. Shenling sighed at Tianchang, saying that the experiences of these days are too magical, and normal social life has not been as exciting as these days in 10 lifetimes. Zhi, a familiar voice came, and Shenling turned her head to take a look. What is this?